Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight. We are the Board of Education meeting with SEIU Local 500 at our annual meeting. And as you can see, we are meeting virtually. We typically meet face-to-face where we're able to fellowship, but we wanted to make certain that we consider your health and safety. But we believe that this meeting was so important that we continue to hold it as we do every year. Tonight, you will hear from SEIU members where they will talk about the impact of COVID-19 on their membership, as well as talk about the progress we have made on the issues that were brought forward last year, as well as issues that continue to remain. So we look forward to this very robust discussion and the collaboration that we have with SEIU Local 500. My name is Shebra Evans. I serve as the president on the Board of Education. At this time, I would like for my colleagues to introduce themselves. I'll start off with Vice President Wolf, and we'll go in alphabetical order.
Good evening. My name is Brenda Wolf. I'm the Vice President of the Board. I represent District 5. I'm glad to be here with you all again this year.
Mr. Asante, are you on? He's having a bit of trouble joining the Zoom. He may try via phone. So we'll wait for him to join, and we will go to Dr. Daka.
Good evening. Judy Daka, District 1, Up County, including Gaithersburg.
Mrs. O'Neill.
Good evening. Pat O'Neill, District 3, Bethesda, Chevy Chase, and Potomac. Happy to be meeting with you, but I would much rather be meeting in person, but yes, it's good to be with you.
Thank you. Ms. Silvestre.
Good evening, Carla Silvestre. Good to see you all.
We will also be joined by Mrs. Mondrosky in just a bit, and Ms. Dixon sends her well wishes, and we will make certain to share with her the topics that we discussed. She was unable to join us this evening, but again, she is very supportive of SEIU Local 500. I also wanted to acknowledge Dr. Smith, Dr. McKnight, and all of senior leadership that is on the call tonight. And I will, at this time, turn it over to President Pia Morrison.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. I just want to talk about a few issues around support staff professionals in MCPS. I really want to take the time to say how honored I am and how fortunate I am to be the president of a union that has members that are so dedicated to the education and the support of young people in the community. As a result of the hard work of support staff professionals in MCPS, we've served over 4 million meals and counting, provided over 195,000 technology devices to both staff and students, including exchanging better Chromebooks to teachers. In addition to that, we've maintained buildings, the infrastructure, and continue to support the business of the running of schools throughout this entire health pandemic. For me as a union president, the work that our members have done and continue to do does not come without its challenges. This union has been in the position of trying to continue to keep our members very calm and very focused about their contribution, while also listening to them and being supportive and empathetic about the anxiety that they have of often being asked to leave their homes to do this body of work that we call the operations work and the infrastructure work of the school system. They've done that work. They've done it with professionalism. They've done it with care, and they've done it because they understand that children need to eat. They need to be able to succeed in this virtual environment, and teachers need to be able to teach. Buildings still need to be clean. Schools need to still have curb appeal, and they still need to be safe. So I just want to reiterate again how very, very proud I am to represent a group of employees who are and continue to be as dedicated and as committed to the work of MCPS. In addition to that, as we move forward and look at bringing childcare into buildings, and teachers are coming back into buildings. And we're thinking about bringing our English language learners and our special education students who are struggling during this virtual learning and may not be getting as much out of it as they need. I want us to continue to be mindful that those anxieties and those fears of the people who have been doing this body of work don't go away. We're still in a global health pandemic. People are still very much concerned about maintaining their own health and safety and the health and safety and well-being of their families that they have to go home to every night. And as I always say, everyone deserves to go home safe at night to be with their family without carrying that burden of worrying about bringing COVID home to their families. So I really want this Board of Education and the leaders of MCPS to know that it's going to be very important to us as we continue to go through this together, that we continue to encourage our schools and all of our staff to be vigilant about making sure they're following safety and health protocols. Everyone is getting wind of the fact that we are slowly going to start to move back into the school building. And I have to let you all know that people are getting, that anxiety is starting to increase again. So once again, Local 500 and the member leaders on this call and the ones watching are in the position of reminding people we are operations, we make it happen. But we also are in the position of wanting to be sure that they're safe and that their sacrifices and what they've been accomplishing is also being acknowledged. In addition to that, I would also like to talk about our Compact of Respect. I don't know when the last time was that anybody actually looked at the Compact of Respect, but that document has grown quite dusty in the MCPS archives of agreements. It has not been signed since Dr. Wiest, and I think Bonnie Cullison was president when it was signed. And I want to really talk about re-energizing and what it means to re-energize and bring life back into the Compact of Respect, and what those words really meant, not just for Local 500, but also for MCAP and MCEA, and what the system plans on doing to move forward to re-energize the life back into that Compact of Respect. The words about being able to respect one another, being civil to one another, as we're dealing with this anxiety around this health pandemic, those are things that can quickly fall to the wayside. And I think it's really, really important for the system to consider not only re-signing it, but re-energizing it and making it a part of their communication and developing some sort of campaign to re-spark that Compact of Respect, because I think it's something that's grown dusty, and I think it's a very vital part of the culture of MC. Pardon me, sorry, I got muted. As we strive and work toward equity for our students, equity for our staff, I feel as if the Compact of Respect is a vital foundation of how we go about doing that work. So those were the things that I really wanted to illuminate and talk about tonight with you all. Again, I want to thank you all for having me, and I look forward to us broadening this discussion with the rest of the member leaders of Local 500, talking about the other concerns and challenges that our members are facing as well. Thank you so much. And I think the next person is Sally.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. I certainly miss getting together with everyone in the room with our purple tablecloths, and Judy docked out with her purple clothes on. So I definitely missed that. But I'm so glad we can at least still get together and share our time together. I wanted to start first on calling to your attention. I want to make sure you know, Pia touched on how much work behind the scenes has gone on with the supporting services. And of course, my area, for those that don't know, I'm the coordinator for the Paraeducator program. I am now under Kevin Lowndes. I'm under special ed, it's great. And I just want to call attention to what the paras have accomplished since we ran out of those buildings on March 13th. And everything was up in the air. And everyone was, teachers, principals, leadership, everybody was like, we got to make this happen. And everybody was on the team, and everybody joined in, and everybody did what they needed to do. Paras were searching for trainings. They were joining trainings. They were sitting there with they were on the phone with their teachers, and they were training together, and they were trying to figure things out. They were supporting each other. They had to learn Zoom quickly. They had to learn My MCPS classroom in a way that they had not used it before. Teachers had some familiarity, paras had minimal. They really had to jump onto that. And more information started coming online and through that. They had their roles shifted. Their purpose is the same, and that is to support our students, to support our teachers. But of course, it looks different in a digital world. They can't run from classroom to classroom and pull the handful of children into another little space and work with them and feed them back and get them. As we all know, that doesn't happen. It is happening. It's just happening virtually. The paras they would attend, they are attending the live classroom instruction with the teacher. They are then monitoring and supporting in the breakout rooms. They are holding their own breakouts. They are doing small group instruction, one-on-one instruction for interventions and struggling learners, set up their own Zoom times on those Wednesday afternoons and other times that are possibly that they can interact with the students. They are more involved with the families than they had been before, because we had delineated lines of communication. Now it's like, if you can reach the parent, everybody, let's touch base with the families. How are they doing? What do they need? Are the kids okay? We haven't seen Frank on the call this week. Is there something we can do to help? They're helping make those phone calls and those check-ins, just like teachers. I've told them all, I've asked them all, please keep logs of when you communicate with parents, because this is information that needs to be known. There is new places in Synergy, another new platform that everybody's had to learn right now, that they are having to learn where to put this information that they've contacted. One of the best things that has come out of the digital learning is that paras now have time to attend collaborative planning time and an instructional collaboration time with the teachers. And it has been amazing, because the teachers are so thrilled to have the paras there to really understand what they're needing to do and to deliver. The paras now have a deeper understanding of the learning that needs to happen and how to fill in those gaps if students aren't there, or if they are there, where to take them to the next level. So it has been an amazing experience when I talk to teachers, when I hear from principals and assistant principals, what their paras are doing. This time is so invaluable, this planning time. What we're all hoping is that as we move forward and we begin to move back into the school buildings and we begin to get back into more what we would call normal routines, that we don't lose this collaboration, that we can be forward thinking and figure out ways where the paras can still have that time with their teachers so that they can plan and continue to be those collaborative partners. It would definitely be a shame to just drop that momentum once we get back in the schoolhouse, once we have seen how folks have risen to the occasion here. There's a little bit of glitches, little things that we're working on now. I'm starting to get almost daily phone calls from assistant principals and from paras regarding substitutes for paras. The special education and Head Start paras are eligible for substitutes, and we're having a little problem here of how to get those paras substitutes trained, because they really can't function unless they know how to use Zoom and My MCPS classroom. So we want to work a little bit more closely with HR and Janet, with your folks, to figure out possibly the para substitutes can attend the teacher sub training. I mean, really, they would need to know everything except for how to take attendance. Other than that, they really need to know how to do it. So principals are getting a little upset, because, as you know, hospitals now are allowing elective surgeries, and all those that are backed up, people are getting in line for their elective surgeries, so they know when they're going to be out. and they're looking for subs, and people want to get subs, and then we just haven't even gotten to the flu season. So the other thing that I just want to reiterate what Pia had said about the anxieties about, as we talk about moving back into the schoolhouse, the protections that are going to be in place. Will they have options? If they themselves are immunocompromised or someone in their home is, will they have the right to say, I'm not comfortable coming into the schoolhouse. I will continue to digitally support and do my job or do whatever needs to be done. I just am not comfortable doing that. And I'm sure this is on the minds of everyone of how we're going to triage that and look at that, because it's real. It's very real with people, and we have to consider that. So I think I've used up my time, and if there's any questions, I'm happy to talk to people about them.
Sure. So what I'll do is I'll look to see if board members have their mics unmuted, or I could go to each person to see if they have questions, because there are so many of us online, which is great. I cannot see everybody. So I will ask Mrs. O'Neill, do you have any comments or questions from what you heard, Ms. Morrison or Ms. Burks?
Yeah, I mean, I want to thank all the SEIU employees who I know have been working since March, even though our buildings have been closed. I've heard such wonderful, anecdotal story, the support from the principals talking about the security assistants who are helping at the elementary schools with distribution of meals and distributions of technology, and paraeducators. It's wonderful to hear about a positive from being in the virtual world. But I know you guys, in the brick and mortar environment, you keep the wheels turning and the buildings cleaned and the kids fed. And thank you to everyone, and Pia, I think it's worth noting about the compact of respect. And, I have to say, there are a lot of people in the community in general who would benefit from hearing about a respect. Board members receive hundreds of emails, and most people, they're thoughtful and heartfelt. But I've been stunned, at some of them, even from some of our MCPS employees, because, to me, health and safety is the number one priority for overarching everything and educating our children. And, I worry about everyone's safety, as some in the community who are so anxious for us to be back in buildings and maybe denying the reality of the world we live in. But I do want to thank all of our SEIU employees, because I know you've kept things going.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Daka. And if you don't have any comments or questions, that's fine. We can move on and move to the next topic.
No, I do.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I just wanted to make sure no pressure.
I wanted to thank Ms. Morrison for bringing up the respect, because I wondered what happened to it. We kind of passed over it. Maybe we thought that we really were respecting each other, but I think it's good to review that. And it's very connected to our mandatory training, because there's some items in mandatory training that have to do with respect. I would just say bullying, and not just bullying among students, but bullying among adults, which is something that's difficult for us to work with. And the other part from Ms. Burek, it's so important about our paras. It's been a concern of all principals, I'm sure, that the paras cannot be there often when we have training. So we need to be able to work on that when we go back to brick and mortar, to see if we can do a better job of that, because they are certainly essential in the classroom. And if they don't know all that's going on, it makes it very difficult for them. And for the students, they won't get as much out of it as they should. Thank you.
Thank you. And we will go to Ms. Silvestre.
Thank you. Also, as has been stated, I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank you for the tremendous and monumental work that has happened in everything that you've been in the front lines in the spring and the summer and now. I did want to just ask Ms. Murek's question about options, staff having options if and when we return, when students start to come back to school. So Dr. Smith, it's my understanding that if someone is immunocompromised, they would have the option to remain working remotely. Is that correct? Am I understanding that correctly?
We're getting ready right now to move information and questionnaires out to all of our staff about those very issues, and we'll work with each individual staff member about their health circumstances and any other circumstances that are there. And then, as we look at the incredibly complex effort when we are able to come back together, of making sure that we have worked with each individual staff member and making sure that our plan is good enough and our adherence to the plan, so that when we do have people back in buildings, that they will be as safe as they would be in the community, and in many ways safer, because it's a much more controlled environment than lots of the environments that people are going into right now. So that work is getting ready to move out right now. We were working on it in July, and then as the number of cases crept up and as people began to coalesce around standards as to what was possible given schools, we moved to the all virtual decision to start school, and we were working toward when we could possibly reintroduce, but we have to start planning now. And so I've been getting a few emails that say, well, it's not safe to go in schools now. Well, we're not going in schools now, but we are planning out 2 and 3 and 4 months so that when it is safe, we'll be ready. And so that, and all those questions around individual employee health and circumstance are part of that being ready.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Mrs. Mondrosky has joined us. She's on the call. She does not have a question, but I want to ask her just to introduce herself and let them know what district she represents.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Spondrowski, District 2, and I'm glad I'm able to be here tonight, and thank you all for your time and everything. I don't have a question specifically, but I too wanted to kind of join in the thanks. I spent the summer volunteering at schools, doing lunch, passing out lunches and doing weekend food sacks. And I just have to say, seeing your members in action all summer long, stepping up and being there, it was really incredible. And the stuff that they, did for our families and our students, when, it's hard to find people who really want to do that, was really amazing and has been really amazing as they continue to do it. So I just want to say how proud you all should be. And I really hope that you will forward on our thanks to all of your members for everything that they've done all summer long and continue to do, whether it be virtually or in person, to help support what needs to be done for our families and our students. So I just kind of wanted to say that, and that's all I've got right now.
Thank you. We'll go to Vice President Wolf and then Mr. Asante.
Thank you. I too wanted to add my thanks to the tremendous amount of work that I've seen your membership do since we shut our doors in March. I too have been to the meal sites. It's an amazing function to see how efficient they are. I've interacted with your security assistants when I've had to go to the schools for materials. It has just been amazing to me, the job that you've done. The food service workers, I try to highlight them every time I can because that has been an amazing operation to me. I wanted to thank Pia for raising the compact of respect because I too believe that respect and civility has gone by the wayside in our community. And we need to do everything we can to maintain that within MCPS. I wanted to say to Sally that the current situation with the paraeducators really highlights the essential work that they have always done. So any training that they need, I think we would be glad to talk about how we can make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Asante.
Yeah, I just want to echo the sentiments of my colleagues and say first, thank you for sharing your stories and for sharing your insights tonight. I can imagine that the shift to virtual learning has been especially odd for SEIU members. So I want to thank you for being so willing to adapt your role and continue that hard work for our students.
And I'll just also offer my thanks as well. My colleagues have said it all really great, and I associate myself with them. And so with that, we will go on to the next section. I think it's Mrs. Leah Bailey.
Good evening, everyone. I'm with transportation, and I'm going to talk about some things that we have done. So far, we have helped with the food distribution. We was out to the different schools, handing out lunches and working together with food services. I heard that was a great, they did great with that, and they continue to do wonderful together. They go to different locations within the county, to the different neighborhoods, distributing food. They also go into the schools, much like the paraeducators, and helping with the Chromebook distribution, and they helped at the end of the school year with cleaning out the students' lockers, getting things together that they might have left at the school. And that's a different role that transportation plays in, because as you all know, only thing we do mainly is drive the kids back and forth to school and make sure that they are safe during that ride. I have a couple questions that I would like to pose to you guys tonight, as far as when we go back into the schoolhouse, what it would look like for transportation. And one of the questions that I have is, when it comes to, I see the reopening, on the reopening document, I see that they say we can't have more than about 12 persons on the bus at a time. So that means, well, that is only stated for a regular ed bus. I just wanted to know how many students would be able to ride on a special ed bus, considering that we will have a driver and bus attendant. So that'll be 2 people there. I'm uncertain of that number that is able to be on a special ed bus. And also, we don't just have a full-size special ed bus. We have wheelchair special ed buses as well. I just wanted to know if you guys have a number on that, as well as how do we implement wearing the mask on the school bus with the special ed students? How would that really look to us? How do we get them to keep it on? Or is there, I know we have a policy where every child gets to ride the bus to school, but because of the current situation that we are living in, if they choose not to put the mask on, or they can't because of maybe their disability, how would that work? What would that look like? I know regular ed kids would be a little bit different. We could, let them know that they can't. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know if Todd has the answer, or you all might have an answer to that question. Could we say you can't ride if you don't have your mask on because of the guidelines that CDC and Montgomery County has put in place? I'm not certain about that. What kind of PPE besides masks and gloves would be provided to the drivers and attendants on a daily basis?
We can, right there, we can have someone answer your question. Is that okay, Ms. Bailey?
That's fine.
You want to go
Yes.
on? Okay.
Would you like us to go ahead and answer those questions, Ms. Bailey, and then we can go on with more questions? Start with those. That work?
So this is Todd Watkins. I think I can answer some of those questions if that works for you guys. So we have looked at CDC guidelines, and they suggest a student in every other seat on the school bus, and that's how we get to the number of 11 or 12 on our regular ed buses. That number, of course, would go up if we have students who live in the same household or share the same daycare. Has been another category has been suggested for folks that could sit together in a seat and kind of count as one, increase the capacity by one each time we can fit two students in the seat together. On special ed buses, because they have fewer seats and in many cases have wheelchair lifts and wheelchair spaces that reduce the seating even further, we're going to use the same, at least under current guidelines, we're going to use the same strategy where we put one student in every other seat on the bus, and the bus attendant would count as one of those, taking up one of those seating slots. We're going to leave the seat behind the driver open so that there's not a student so close to the bus operator. In situations where students on special needs buses won't wear masks, our requirement or our guideline is going to be that all students must wear the mask on the bus unless an IEP team has decided that because of a student's disability, it's not advisable for the student to wear it because of their disability, or the student behaviorally or whatever will not comply with that requirement. And in those cases, we plan to up the PPE of the bus staff who will be dealing with that student. In addition to face coverings, in those kind of situations, we are looking into using face shields, medical kinds of gowns to help cover the staff member, and gloves in those kind of situations. And if they're very specialized scenarios with students, we have two staff members in DOT that their work is dedicated almost exclusively to developing solutions in complex situations involving students with special needs. And so much of their efforts, I suspect, when we go back to school for special needs students, will be devoted to this issue of what if the student won't wear a mask? How do we make it safe for that student, for the other students on the bus, and for the staff on the bus?
Thank you, Mr. Watkins. All right, Ms. Bailey, I don't know if you wanted to continue on, or if that was all of your questions that were answered.
I have another question in regards to, we have a number of students that have one-on-one attendance. How would that look, considering the nature of the current world?
So we would count them in that same kind of seating limitation, and we would have one person, whether it be a student or adult, in every other bus seat, and we would arrange that one-on-one bus attendant near the student that they attend, but either across the aisle or at least one seat away, if they're on the same side of the aisle. The other thing that I failed to mention before is we've done measurements in our school buses, and so when you put students in every other bus seat, they are just shy of 6 feet apart. And we've also done measurements on our wheelchair spaces within buses, and the wheelchair spaces are about that same distance apart, just shy of 6 feet, if you put students in two adjacent wheelchair slots on a bus. And so that's how we will handle social or physical distancing of students who ride the bus in a wheelchair.
Thank you. I have one more concern I would like to raise, and it's concerning the facilities at Clarksburg and Randolph Depot that we went to visit last summer. I know the pandemic came upon us very quickly, and I know that this summer they were supposed to start work on one of the sites. I was just wondering, is there any update on that? And because at this point, to go back into school in the end of January, as we slated for, the HVAC, the air quality, and all that at the depots and those trailers, I'm quite sure aren't going to be any better than they were last summer.
It's a very important question, and I think Ms. McGuire is prepared to share some information about that with us tonight.
Yes, I definitely can. Thank you. And then Mr. Watkins can chime in if there are details that that need to be added. But as you said, our work on that did get interrupted by our attention with the pandemic and the public health conditions and just those adjustments that we were making. But we are still in progress with that. So we had requested money and were approved funding to do those replacements. One thing that did happen is as we got into that project and received permits, our permitting agencies in the county did indicate that there were some complications due to increased code requirements that relate to the infrastructure, water, sewer, those kinds of infrastructure connections. And so as a result, we are having to do a little more work to adjust those plans and look at ways to consolidate staff to find other ways to add space to those sites. So we are working through those, and I would expect that folks would begin to see some changes in the coming months. But it is taking us a little bit longer, again, because of just some of those complications on the site and the infrastructure connections. We are having to work through that a little bit differently, and we're going to continue to work through, again, sort of how to best house everybody on those sites without using those areas that have become such problems. Todd, is there anything that you wanted to add there that I didn't mention?
Nope, I think you covered it all.
Okay.
If I could do a follow-up.
Ms. Silvestri, go ahead.
Are you going to go around or should I ask a question?
Well, I wanted to see if Ms. Bailey was finished first and then I can. Okay. Ms. Bailey, were you done?
Yes, I think I'm finished at this time.
Okay. So we can begin. Yeah, thank you. And we'll begin comments, questions with Ms. Silvestri.
Just two follow-ups to two issues that Ms. Bailey raised. When would the depot work be completed? You said next couple of months?
Yes, we are. We're going to be, I think that the changes should begin to be seen over the next couple of months, yes. But again, we're sort of phasing our way through some of that work. But yes, we are resuming that and again, moving staff around and working through that.
And the other issue that I heard was what happens if a student refuses to wear a mask on the school bus? Not special ed student, I think if I heard correctly, that was that issue. But what is the bus driver supposed to do? What are the expectations going to be for a student that refuses to wear a mask on the bus?
Well, certainly bus drivers are very skillful and adept at responding to students, and students make all sorts of decisions on buses. But that is one of the things that as we continue to do our planning that we will work on. I don't frankly expect that will be a tremendous issue. I was on a phone call yesterday, or a Zoom call just like this, with superintendents from 20 large systems across the country. 5 of them have students in school now in small groups or in a hybrid model. And we were talking about this very issue. And one of the, I think, things that's been surprising is the level of seriousness with which our students are taking this pandemic situation. And I think we all see that if we're out in the community at a grocery store or somewhere else. We see whole families with masks on. And so we will have protocols for our bus drivers, just like we do in non-pandemic times, for how to respond. And then they are very skillful at working with students to bring about the kinds of behaviors that we need and want from our students. So that definitely will be a part of what we have to work on as we move toward the possibility of bringing students back into school buildings, because the transportation department is a critical part of that process of picking up our students, whether in groups of 6 or 8 or 9 or groups of 45 and 50 as they did before last March. So, and I just say thank you to you, Ms. Bailey, for, on behalf of all transportation workers. It's been amazing what's been accomplished in our transportation staff work. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so we will go to Mr. Santi. Did you have any questions that you wanted to ask as a result?
No questions. Just thank you, Ms. Bailey, for sharing those insights.
All right. So I'll just ask board members if there were questions that you felt weren't answered. I believe they were all answered. Yeah. So I'm gonna.
Shepard.
President Wolf, yes.
I don't have a question. I just have a comment. If I failed to mention the transportation, the work that was done by the transportation staff in helping to support the food service distribution, that is really an oversight on my part, because one of the things that I had as a concern is that there were areas that were not being reached. And if it were not for transportation, those areas still would not be served. So I want you to be sure to know that we send our thanks to them also. Thank you.
Yes, yes, so many heroes in our system. Very happy to be in Montgomery County. So with that, we will move on. Oh, Daka, okay, yep, sure.
No, I don't have a question. I do have a comment. Ms. Bailey, thank you so much for bringing up some of the items that you did about special ed students and the spacing on the bus and what do you do. These are questions that I'm sure that are out in the community and among staff, and we really appreciate you having that come forward. And we thank Dr. Smith and Mr. Watkins for answering some of those things for us. And I just wanted to say that our bus drivers and all you have to put up with on the bus with the noise and the activity are our first line of defense in the schools, because if the students come in and they're all wrought up from being on the bus, it's not going to be a very good day.
Thank you. Mrs. O'Neill.
I just want to say I'm happy that the work is continuing at those 2 depots, because we do need to, I mean, in normal times, pre-pandemic, I don't imagine many other employees in the system who would work under those conditions. So it's important to live up to the commitment that we had made that we were going to repair and fix up and make it healthy and safe for our employees.
Okay. So I don't want to miss anybody. I think everybody's had an opportunity to speak. Thank you, Mrs. Bailey, for your presentation and your questions. And at this time, we will, I'm taking over Pia's job. Pia, I'm going to let you, Ms. Morrison, I'm going to let you introduce members.
Sure. So the next person to speak is Oriole Saw. Oriole is an ITSS at Wheaton High School. And I think she wants to address how things are going in technology.
Thank you for having us here this evening. I'm currently the treasurer of SEIU Local 500. Previously, I was the vice president of media and technology. Jamie Mulhern is in that position now and could as easily be in this little square on your screen, but I'm here. First, I want to thank Leah and Todd and transportation. I have worked with many bus drivers since March, and to a person, they have been amazing. We have walked into distributions where the principal has never done it before and has a plan, and bus drivers have said, well, if we did this, and basically saved the day. So thank you to the bus drivers. I have had intense pleasure meeting so many of them. And so the ITSSs have been there from March 13 on, stripping Chromebooks until we had no fingerprints, pulling the Velcro apart. We have been boxing Chromebooks and cables and moving them and unboxing them and moving them again and getting them into the hands of students and taking them out of the hands of students and fixing them and putting them back in the hands of students. We have been handing out the larger silver Chromebooks to teachers and then answering all the questions about how to get on Zoom and how do you connect to your internet at home and all of those things. It's been very busy. Right now, live numbers, looking at the help desk queue, there are 4,333 unclaimed staff tickets and 59 unclaimed parent and community tickets. There were 75 when the overtime shift started this evening, so I can see that my colleagues are going through them. So there's a lot of work that we've done, but there is a lot left to do. So when I knew I was going to speak to you, I asked my colleagues for some comments, and I want to read a handful that I got, and then I want to raise two questions that I have, broader questions. So I'm going to read these. Apologize for reading. Having the ITSS staff working on the parent community tech support, phones and email seems to be making a huge difference. And the parents have been ecstatic to have the help. And I will note that at least 7,000 parent community tickets have been closed to date. Although there have been some bumps, remote learning feels like it's coming together. Things like recording classes and continuing to use familiar software has helped. Another comment, the school year seems to be a lot more effective than last spring. She attributes this to that we have already, I'm paraphrasing because it got awkward. We have already used the technology, both the users and those who support it are more familiar now. We're better able to use and to support. For distributions, we have a new tool called CBAT. That was a major positive that an ITSS wanted to highlight. So we became more adept over time at maintaining our inventory, being able to know who has what where. So the two major questions I wanted to raise relate back to Pia raising the compact of respect. They are the ever-present and hard to overcome question of communication. How do you make sure everybody knows everything they need to know to do the job effectively? And a question that many ITSSs have raised with me and that I myself feel, if I knew more, especially about Synergy and my MCPS classroom, I could actually do more than I'm already doing. We were brought to the Synergy game a bit late, and the primary thing we've been trained to do is to provide authorization letters for parents, which was huge in the first week. But now we're moving into more of how do we do things, how do we fix things, how do things work together. And many ITSSs wish that we knew more so we could do more. There's a small group of people, the TIS staff, who are holding the world up by themselves right now. And we all wish we could do more of that. So thank you. So, are there any questions?
Thank you. We appreciate that. Is there anyone that can address the question of how they could learn more about Synergy? How are we?
Sure. I think that Mr. Turner and Mr. Cevanini are both here, and I think it's really a question of providing opportunities for adult learning. And so, Mr. Cevanini and Mr. Turner, if you can talk about the efforts in that area and what's going to happen going forward in making sure that people know and understand, because we did launch Synergy July 1st as planned, and thanks to literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, it was launched, but it is going to require that we continue adult learning to support the students and families across the system. And then really in the same way, Ms. Saw, the whole issue of communication. I mean, we're all kind of, in some ways, walking, maybe it's not totally dark anymore, but it's still very dim in the room in terms of what we know and understand and even know to communicate. But I think the more we work together and the more we really recognize the incredible value of that culture of respect and asking questions and responding in a civil and respectful and congenial way, the more likely we are to accelerate our learning and our ability to communicate effectively what is happening and what needs to happen and what needs not to happen, all those things. And I'll ask Mr. Chevenini, Mr. Turner about adult learning specific to Synergy and our ITSSs.
So thank you, Dr. Smith. And I first just want to thank the technology staff for all that you've done. Not only are you helping all these parents, you're doing it in multiple languages, you're doing it with extended I'm new to the technology team for MCPS and new to my role. So I'm just so impressed with all that you do and, all that the bus drivers are doing and all the paraeducators are doing and all the security staff are doing. It's so impressive. And you've taken on so much responsibility because you are the voice of MCPS for these parents who are in a panic. You are the face of MCPS when they need a new Chromebook and they don't know what to do and they are stressed out. You have kept them calm. You've kept this moving. So thank you. And we do want to equip you with all the skills you need to help our parents and help our staff more. So I'll ask Mr. Chevenini to talk about what's in the works.
Sure. So, Oriel, one of the things that we're really trying to do, and actually we talked to Pia this morning about this, is to lower the crisis mode feeling that we've had for the last, 7 or 8 months, because we know that you all have done a Herculean effort of getting these devices out, getting them back out, just like you described, getting all the technology stood up, the Wi-Fi, et cetera. So our goal over the next few weeks is to calm things down a little bit and to get into more of a cadence. And at that point, our plan is to provide training on Synergy specific for you all, because I know in the past, that's not something that we have asked you all to do as far as knowing Synergy and using Synergy, or it was Oasis before, right? But relying on you all to provide that support, even though you did. We know that you're going to have to, everyone's going to have to, so we do want to provide the training. Our goal is, though, is just to move away from the help desk support that you all are giving all the time. Still the Chromebook distribution stuff that's happening now a little bit in the MiFis, and then toward the Synergy training. So look for training, for example, in October to start for that.
Okay, very good. Mr. Santi.
May I ask a question?
Yes, sure.
Oh,
absolutely. Yeah.
I just want to ask a question, Mr. Chevenini. When we're talking about the Synergy, at this time, paras they can go in, but there's nothing in there. And the teachers really want them to be much more helpful and to do more things in there, but they are not given the rights. And then, of course, they'll need some training. So I just ask that you also, as you're moving through with Synergy, that you give populate more information for the paras. They can take attendance. They can go in and check assignments. They can go in to find the phone numbers. Many of our secondary paras also support the IEP process and need to get out the paperwork and the parent contact and everything. And that's now in Synergy, and they can't get to it. So you've kind of tied their hands behind their back. I know there was a triage as to what needed to go. I just want to make sure that the paras are still on the table to be taught Synergy and for them to have the correct information they need in there so they can continue to do their work.
Absolutely. We will bring that back and make sure that we provide the training. And if we do need to change the level of access and rights, that's something we can do systemically. As Dr. Smith said, we launched this in July. So I know that everything is not right yet 100%, and that's a great example where we are still tweaking the levels of access for different groups. So that's something we should definitely talk about as well.
Ms. Evans, can I ask a clarifying question of Mr. Chevenini? when we talk about training, and I raise training, but I'm wondering, hand in hand with that, will there also be the necessary access for ITSSs to fix the things that we know we can? For example, there's a very small number of people fixing the cross-ups in parent accounts, and if more of us could do it, we could get through it faster. So that's just an example. We would like to not only have training, but to have full access to the tools to do the work.
So we definitely want to talk about that. I mean, temporary access is one thing. When we think about the rights and elevated rights, et cetera, the issue of providing more elevated rights to different groups is that you also expose yourself to things like ransomware attacks and other things. Not to say that our ITSSs would ever do that, but it's the idea that we want to make sure we have the appropriate rights for different groups. And if ITSSs need to have different rights and access, we need to make sure we provide that.
Ms. Murick, if I could, I think it goes back to something you said earlier, and that is that the things that we learn during this time that work better and make the system run better, we don't want to back away from those. And so this idea of much more extensive adult learning and much more extensive adult involvement in the care and well-being and the learning of our students can only help us. And so these are things you and I have talked about before, and that we are committed to moving forward with. And as Mr. Chevanini says, it's always about balance for keeping our system safe, because for some unknown reason, there are a bunch of strange people out there that attack computer systems, but we can keep it safe and we can have our staff members deeply engaged in the work. And so I wanted to call attention to your comment earlier because I thought it was so important.
Okay, thank you all. I'll go to Mr. Asante, then I'll get to you, Ms. Silvestre.
I just wanted to say I was glad to hear all of the positives mentioned, and technology is essentially the backbone of learning right now. So thank you for all of the work that you are doing to support students, families, and teachers in setting up these systems and maintaining all of that. Learning wouldn't be possible without you guys, so thank you for that.
Ms. Silvestre?
Yeah, I wanted to find out what we're doing to reduce I don't know how Ms. Saw set it up, the unclaimed teacher tickets. It seemed to be a much bigger number than the community tickets. And Ms. Saw, what do you think, how well are we doing with language capacity in order to be able to respond to our families that don't speak English well?
At this time, I'm aware of 2 ITSSs who speak Spanish who've been handling the bulk of those family tickets. There may be more, but I'm aware of 2. And in terms of the staff tickets, a lot of the things, well, first of all, we focused all of our energy on the families. But a lot of the things that are there are things either that we can't do because we can't change the password because we don't know the person, or we don't have the access to fix the problem. And so it has to go to a smaller group of people who can actually do the work.
Mr. Chevanini?
Mr. Chevanini?
Yes, I do want to let you know that the help desk helpline, we get daily reminders on how long the helpline wait times, and the Spanish-speaking helpline has gone to under a minute over the last couple of days, which suggests to us that those 2 people are doing a phenomenal job of making sure that all the calls into the Spanish-speaking part of the helpline are addressed.
And did you want to comment on how we can get the teacher tickets to the numbers to go down?
Absolutely. So that number is a little misleading also because the teacher tickets, the urgency to close them may not be as much as the family and community tickets, because if you think about those needs, sometimes teacher tickets are things like process improvements and synergy that cannot be done so quickly and take a little bit of time. But we are going to make sure that we devote extra time to those starting hopefully tomorrow or the next day.
Thank you.
So I had a question to your response, Mr. Chevanini. Is there a way that we can notify teachers of why there isn't an immediate response to their claim tickets? Because what board members are receiving is that they put in a ticket and they get no response. So if they can at least get a notice that this is going to take 24 or 48 hours to something, then it could give people some relief that at least their ticket has been viewed, as opposed to no one's paying attention or there's not been responsiveness.
Absolutely. Okay, sure. Definitely.
I will I'll ask you have a question on
this is Todd.
Oh, sure,
this is Todd Watkins. If I can just chime in 1 second. I just wanted to point out that one of the non-traditional ways that DOT is supporting the system right now is we're providing Spanish-speaking employees to field the Spanish-speaking help desk calls right now. So I just wanted to point that out.
Sure, thank you. Mrs. Modrowski, did you have any comments, questions?
I don't. I just want to say thank you to everybody for sharing all the information that they're sharing with us and the insight that they're providing on these issues. I like Ms. Wolf mentioned earlier. I also wanted to kind of echo that if I didn't express enough about all of the different positions that I worked with or interacted with over the summer, including our bus drivers, the security, and everything, then I apologize for that because everybody was amazing. And I was so impressed by the work that even our bus drivers are doing, taking on different roles than they normally do in order to support our needs. So we're very, very grateful for that, but to everybody, so all of the different groups.
All right, so I'm just going to ask board members, give me a thumbs up if you had a comment or question. We have one more item that we do want to address. Okay, but I want to note, although we have 8 o'clock on here, with Ms. Morrison's permission, we did say possibly 8:30. Okay. Vice President Wolf, I see your thumb. I just wanted to get that out. Okay.
I just had a question, a kind of a follow-up from Carla's question about the unclaimed staff tickets. Do we triage, is that the word, those tickets in any way so that you automatically kind of kick out those that you can't do, and it sends them a notice that somebody else will handle it? Or, in other words, these are staff people that might be teachers that have an issue that needs to be resolved in order for them to teach. I was just wondering, do we triage that in any way?
We do. One of the issues that we are currently facing is that our current system is very old, our help desk system, and we are in the process right now of getting a new one. So that, unfortunately, it's bad timing because we're in a place where we really do need a new one. But this new system will have blogs and frequently asked questions pieces. It will have the ability to chat with staff members. It will have the ability to get instant responses back, etc. And that hopefully will be unveiled in the next couple of months. But we do triage that for sure. I think one of the issues is that numbers are probably the low triage things and not the high triage things. But I don't want to speak for that 100% because that number is still way too high.
Can I add that we do, as we go through them, we do send them, why is there so much reverb? Okay. As the ICSS have been going through them and the help desk specialists, and I didn't know the bus drivers, but that's awesome. If we find something that belongs, say, to student systems, a registrar has asked for a grade change. We don't leave that behind. We send it to student systems. Things that are Synergy SIS that we can't respond, we put them in the Synergy SIS group. So as we're going through, we are moving out to other people, things that other people can and should handle.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, I will allow Ms. Morrison to introduce the next topic.
Sure. So the next person to speak is Natalie Bordereau. Natalie Bordereau is the Career Pathways Coordinator.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to share about the Career Pathways program. Despite COVID-19's negative effects, it's likely that we all agree on one thing, that our people are everything. Gallup has identified 12 elements of employee engagement that predict high team performance. We're familiar with these elements and have surveyed our own employees on these in the past. The questions in the survey state, for example, I know what's expected of me, I have the resources to do my job. Well, in my world, question 12 is the most important. In the last year, I've had the opportunity to grow and learn. When employees do the same things every day without the chance to learn something new, they rarely stay enthusiastic about their jobs. In contrast, when people feel like they're learning and growing, they work harder and more efficiently. The Career Pathways program embodies all of these elements in an effort to increase employee engagement and professional development of our support professionals. Last year, the Pathway to the Trades project was developed, proposed, and approved in the budget. This was a very exciting time for the program and support professionals. This project proposed 4 pathways in the areas of technology, transportation, and maintenance that provided an organized approach and systemic supports to match employee goals to organizational needs. These pathways would have enhanced employee skills and knowledge that lead to mastery in their current jobs, promotions and transfers to new or different positions. Unfortunately, this amazing project was put on pause in this year's budget due to the impact of COVID. SEIU's interest and the interest of the Career Pathways program is to encourage the board, Dr. Smith and his cabinet, to continue to keep an eye out on how we can develop our support professionals for the organizational needs of the future. Thank you.
Thank you. So I will start with Mrs. O'Neill. Did you have any comments, questions?
No, I thank all of our presenters tonight, and I really appreciate the very positive, collaborative tone, working outside the box on behalf of our students, whatever your job is, and the desire to learn new skills to support that work. So thank you. We can't overstate that enough.
Thank you. Dr. Baca, comments, questions?
Just comments. It has been a pleasure to meet with you tonight because it looks like we're really trying to work together and get information, and we appreciate everything that you've done. And the other members have already talked about how much food services and drivers and paras have done. So thank you all for helping us to keep the school system together.
Thank you. Mrs. Mondrosky?
I will simply echo the words of Mrs. O'Neill and just say, again, as I mentioned before, I appreciate the insight that you all have given us tonight, and the positive relationship and the work that you all are doing to continue to improve our system and your jobs and everything. So it's been really great. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Asante.
Yeah, I just want to agree with my colleagues and say thank you for everything that you've told us tonight and all of the hard work you've been doing since March and continue to do. And yeah.
Vice President Wolf.
I just want to say thank you for tonight and for sharing any issues that you had with us and for the civility you've shown. Thank you.
Ms. Silvestre.
Just wanted to ask about the career pathways. How soon can we bring it back or put it back on track? Seems like this is a good time once we get out of crisis mode to invest in our staff.
I'd like to respond to that. I think it's one of the most important bodies of work that we've been engaged in, and we started with Career Pathway to Teaching, and we've built that out, and we need to continue to build that out, but it is It's attracting a lot of participation and a lot of interest. And then we came back last year in the budget with 3 other areas of work for advancement. And I'll just put in a plug that I think this is forever. We ought to continue to build this out. This is the future of MCPS. It's the way to make sure that we have all of the staff we need ready to do all of the jobs that need to be done, no matter what happens in the society. And so as soon as we're back physically present with one another, we will continue this work and move into these other areas of the other 3 areas that we worked on this past year. We should do it as soon as we're able to physically be back present with one another. It's one of the best investments we can make in our school system.
But why do we have to be physically present to?
Because the kind of work that we're doing that you're talking about, a lot of it involves the physical learning and being on a job site when you look at what they are, and so it's much the same frustration and experience we're having right now with our students who are in career pathways and are not able to go to Seneca Valley and Edison and the other school systems. But as soon as we can have people physically present with one another, that doesn't mean we have to wait until all the students are back physically present, but adults physically present, then we can begin doing that.
Okay, thank you. Just thank you so much for everything that you're doing. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Mrs. Mondrowski, did you have a comment that you wanted to make? I see you.
Yeah,
Sure.
sorry. I just wanted to, in reference to that all, at the last board meeting, I did ask specifically about making sure that our support staff had the updated technology and were able to participate in additional trainings if they wanted to. And so I believe that goes with that. Yes. I mean, with the career pathways and stuff like that. So they can start taking trainings and things like that now if they are able to. Correct? Dr. Smith, I was just trying to clarify.
Yes. When we talk about the trainings, though, we've talked about 2 different things tonight. One is the specific synergy training or other kinds of training when you talk about paraeducators working and knowing the reading interventions and those sorts of things. All that needs to continue and be expanded. The career pathways are very specific kinds of ways for our employees to advance in their chosen career field, either advancing in the field they're in or working in the field they're in while they work to advance in a different area of need for Montgomery County Public Schools and a different area of interest for them. And that we need to continue to grow and develop both for our support professionals. I just think it's absolutely critical as we look at the issues of staffing this school system in all areas in the coming years. It's just critical. It's going to mean the difference between excellence and equity moving forward and us losing ground. When you look at the workforce in the United States, I won't get into the long statistics, but we have the human resources here in our 1 million+ residents and in our 10,000 support professionals that we have right now in place to meet the needs of the system going forward.
Yes, I totally agree. I was just thinking that it's a good opportunity if they have the ability to, for even for someone like one of our bus drivers or building service folks, if they want to learn the systems, as long as if they're allowed to take those trainings and they're open to anyone who's interested in participating. I was just checking. Okay. Yep. All right, cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Mondrowski. Dr. Smith, before we go to closing remarks, are there any final comments that you wanted to make to the members?
Well, I'm sitting here in my office, which is the place I most like to work as compared to working from home. And I almost could actually be a little emotional at the about 24 sites I've visited since last spring. And I'm very careful about visiting sites because I understand that I could, be an infector for someone else if I didn't know I had COVID. but it's really been absolutely incredible and wonderful what the members of SEIU have done on behalf of the school system in the last 6.5 months. So please know how much I feel that and how much I cheer you on, thank you, and appreciate you, because it's been amazing.
Thank you. So as it was stated, it is very clear to all of us that you all are an integral part of our school system. We value you, we appreciate you, and just really are appreciative that we have this annual meeting where we can come together and sit and talk. Well, I should say sit and talk. We'll come together and talk about any issues that exist and ways that we can work through those issues. We are partners in education. We need you. And just wanted to reiterate that. And thank you all so much. And I will turn it over to your president, Ms. Morrison, to give some final remarks before we.
Well, thank you so much for having us and for listening and asking good questions, and for, you know, your gratitude around the hard work that support staff professionals and MCPS have done. We too look forward to this opportunity to have this level of conversation and engagement from the Board of Education, and as usual, and appreciate your continued collaboration and support for the work that we are doing and will continue to do for the system and for the students and the parents of Montgomery County. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. So if there are no more comments, then we will just say to each and every one of you to continue to remain safe, stay healthy, and have a good weekend coming up. And just thank you again for all the work that you do.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Good night.